Welcome to Apax Empowered. In today's episode, we step into the world of alchemical mirror design with an artist duo that has gone global by transforming mirrors into a powerful architectural material. Let's dive into the remarkable story of Water Dixon and Spectra Mirrors. Such great pleasure of welcoming both of you here, Caitlin, Warther and Wendy Dixon from Water Dixon and Spectra Mirror. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Well, and thank you so much. We're so happy and so grateful to be here.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
So you guys have just been selected as one of the Scape 100 creative duos. Tell us more about your journey.
Wow, where to start?
8 years ago now.
Correct.
Yeah.
This was at Spear.
Actually, so we met originally, even before that. Kate had been living in New York City and I was living in Joburg at the time, and we had a very brief introduction through a mutual friend that I went to business school with. And then through the power of Instagram, we followed each other, and I think maybe 2 years later, reconnected when we both moved to Cape Town. And then almost immediately started working together. And you're correct, the Spear Light Festival was one of the first things that we worked on and was the start of our relationship. It was really a friendship that developed out of a mutual love of creative work and mirrors and light, and so much alignment in our interests and skill sets also. And it just grew from there.
And what was it that you produced for Spear at that time?
So we did 2 different installations at that time for that same show. That was 2018. And the one that Wendy had already started working on was with Sumaya Valley from Counterspace. It was a series of geometric shapes of mirror kind of in these sculptural forms called folded skies. And I joined the team to help with some of the lighting because it was a light art show, but it's always tricky with mirror to incorporate light because you get a lot of bouncing and reflection and everything. And so, yeah, I had studied interior architecture and lighting design and was just getting to feel what that might look like in practice. And because Wens knew that, she thought it would be a good fit to bring me onto that project. And then I kind of cottoned on to what Spear was all about and how amazing of an opportunity it is to have the chance to submit a proposal and then get fully funded to make something, which doesn't happen a lot. I mean, maybe overseas more, but not in South Africa. So I said to Wens, why don't we do something else as well? Because this is so cool. And you get to kind of walk around the whole wine farm and see what inspires you, which is something we still love to do, is make work site-specific, kind of respond to the land, respond to the light, the space that's there. And I think we were quite enamored with the water and the lake, and there's these beautiful willow trees that kind of fall over the edge. And I don't know, it kind of just came out of nowhere that we had this idea to do a light-based work over the water.
Also, this is like an hour before the deadline.
Well, that's what creatives do. They work based on the pressure.
Yeah, as the best work often comes through with the pressure.
You can't even explain it or understand where it comes from. But we did some Photoshop kind of mock-ups and renders, and when we look back now, they look like so like basic. And
You got selected.
We did, yeah. So that was called Transparent Geometries, and there were 4 kind of art shape, almost like door shapes over the water. Portals. And the render was very quick to just draw these like illuminated shapes hovering over the water and reflecting beautifully. And that's what we submitted without really understanding how we would make them, or like
no
very
sense
basic.
of rigging or what it took to like make something glow underwater.
No.
So did you get any guidance into constructing all of this from them, or?
No, we actually somehow got connected to the guys from Thinking, Mark and his team, and they were amazing. They've done all kinds of rigs and installations, very interactive. They're kind of at the forefront of a lot of tech-based light art work. And they kind of came on and consulted, and we developed this almost like a volleyball net tensioned cable across the water, and then all of the electronics went underwater, which was so beautiful because they all just disappeared. And the pieces really looked like they were hovering because you couldn't see the cable or anything. So yeah, they were really magical, and somehow we pulled them off, just like that. Yeah.
With a little supping across the desert.
How many days before the launch did you like test it out and?
Like right.
Yeah, I
up
think
to
we
the
were
deadline.
working pretty much extensively straight up, and we were also both on both of the biggest scale projects that Spear had for that year. So it was really a lot of work that went into both of them, and a lot of management. And I think I was the only one in Cape Town from my team on the other project. So I was also trying to be the point of contact for everyone. But it turned out so beautifully, and we're so happy that we participated, and we're so grateful to Spear actually also, because that was a huge launchpad for our career, and also gave us an amazing opportunity to experiment with mediums that we probably wouldn't have been able to, and with substantial budget to go towards it as well. It was really a beautiful opportunity.
I wish there are more opportunities like that for the younger generation.
Absolutely, it's a game changer.
Absolutely. And maybe one day we would become those people
Exactly, yeah.
for other businesses. Okay, so since then, did you sit around the table and you got your technical skills, put them all together in a hat and said, okay, this is what we're going to do going forward?
Yeah, sort of. I think we were quite lucky in that we have quite complementary skill sets. I think I come from like a bit more of a business background, brand communication, design. And then Kate, more architectural, interior design, lighting. Photography is also an interest and a hobby, and she's a really talented photographer. And then those two, and then also probably this entrepreneurial spirit that we both have, that's really been the thing that's connected us so beautifully, and has helped us enormously in shaping both businesses, because we have really been able to do a lot by ourselves. And we were talking about this earlier. You do, as a business owner, end up wearing multiple different hats, and you are like 5 different roles in one place. But we were very lucky in that the skill set was very dispersed across what's super useful in running a business. And then whatever we didn't know how to do, we learned very quickly. You have to be nimble and just learning on the fly. I think a lot of, and now with like technology has changed quite a lot with the introduction of AI. It's been an enormous resource. I think to young entrepreneurs and creatives, it's definitely something that will help accelerate that and fulfill a lot of roles for people. But we had to learn the hard way and very quickly, I think.
But also we had a lot of kind of response from the community and people. And, you know, for example, we made a film of that, the transparent geometries. And then I think that one of the curators from the Zeitz just happened to be at Spear.
That's true.
And he was quite taken with the work, and then said, can we show the film or a version of something in the Zeitz? And we did a beautiful show, which was just aligned so much in the theme. And I think a lot was really good timing to expand us into different spaces with different curators, kind of see what we could do from their eyes as well, which is quite important.
But you also took a risk in creating the film, and obviously there was an expense to that. But look how it pushed forward your whole career going forward. And I want to touch back on that again as well. You were at Zeitz, you were at the Nixon, Ezeco museums, some other galleries as well. That is amazing. And you did all of that by yourselves, approaching them, getting your work out there. Did you have to produce a lot of new work for them?
Yes and no. I think there's something about this like idea about momentum we were talking about now, that all happened in such a short space of time, where I think people were really excited by the work that they saw us producing. We weren't even really artists at that point. Like, I still completely identified myself as a designer, coming from a design background. I wasn't even sure I wanted to be an artist, and we hadn't even established a studio space.
And
we were just working together.
Duo, it's like a new thing to define as well, and be like, okay, we're going to keep doing everything together, and what does that look like? And you know,
and we're both working in other careers. Like, this was also something that was happening underneath the layer of other businesses and careers that we had, and it was just this like beautiful, super fun and exciting experimental space that we were able to participate in. But as you say, we're just self-funding it, and we're caught up in the momentum of that initial work that came out, and then the excitement around the mirrors and the excitement around the light-based work, and us trying to figure out how to merge those two mediums into one. And then the Zeit show happened very quickly after the Spear show, which was really incredible. And that, to be an emerging artist who at that stage when we weren't even sure we wanted to be artists, to be then shown in the Zeit at that level is really extraordinary. We were also so blown away that opportunity opened up to us so quickly.
And actually we got invited, so we showed the film and then we were invited to make something new for that show as well. And we made one of our first mirror-based works that was an artwork around this kind of perceptual phenomena that happens when you look at yourself in a mirror with two right-angle pieces of glass meeting each other, because you see yourself in that reflection the way that I see you, whereas mostly when you look in the mirror, you see yourself inversed. And so we started to play with the idea of how mirror and light kind of, or just mirror and reflection bounce across optically, biologically into the person's experience of themselves. And the prompt worked so well for that show. Let's go back.
Pleasure, yeah. Pleasure to meet you was the title of that.
Yeah.
And it also, it functioned as a booth that you stepped into and were able to interact with yourself in this way that you probably hadn't, very subtly, but in this way that you probably hadn't experienced before, in the same way that you would interact with a mirror, with a normal mirror.
So you really created an experience, and you left the viewer leaving with some food for thought because of this experience that you've created.
Yeah.
That is so magical, guys.
Yeah. But I guess that was how we brought the mirror in. So that was mirror and light into an artwork that was a combination of an object and an installation or something to participate in. And then from there, it was kind of like, okay, cool. So now we've got these materials and these mediums, and how do we keep pushing them? What happens on the surface of the glass? What happens in the shapes of the glass? What, all of it kind of got its...
Because you really intrigued us now. So I want you guys to explain this to the people that don't know your work, how you've started playing with these materials.
Yeah, it's been definitely what Kate's saying is around this material exploration has been actually for the last 8 years a big focus for us. It still feels like we're learning things about the material all the time and in different shapes and heat applied and alchemically. But we developed a process that I think we've become quite well known for, which is an alchemical process. It's a process of transformation where two chemicals interact on the surface of the glass. And that interaction creates these little catalytic moments where the heat sort of changes the color of the brass. And in a similar way that oxidization works with time and brass and patinas. And it's become something that we have really developed and refined in our practice, and is something that we've become quite well known for, I think, in the public space. But we're always experimenting, and it's a really fun and big part of our practice is this like sense of play, like being able to. We're working on a series now where we put the glass into a kiln, and the kiln melts. It's called slumping. It's a process where you slump and melt over a mold.
What's the name?
Slumping.
Slumping.
Slump.
Yeah,
Just slump it.
Slumping. And you create a metal mold, and it goes into the kiln, and then you would place a piece of a pane of glass, and when you turn up the heat, it literally melts over that form, and you're left with the kind of void of the form reflected in the glass, and that's been so interesting and so cool for us to play with lately.
So, okay, explain this vision that I have in my mind now. The two of you in a lab, science meets design. Your gear that you are wearing, take me through that.
Okay, cool.
Don't look like this.
No, definitely
we
not.
don't look like this.
Jesus on our socials, they like you go from like glam, like high, to completely low, like ponytails, gumboots, jumpsuit.
Yeah.
Gumboots and jumpsuits.
Nothing in between.
No, exactly. Gas masks, gloves, the whole thing. Do you want to take this one?
Yeah, so that process in the workshop is what happens after we've got essentially layers of metal onto the glass. So we start with float glass, and then that has different alloys, different combinations of layers of metal just kind of applied to the surface on the back or front. And then we take a set of two chemicals, which we've also found quite cool. There's a lot of two kind of
Dual,
reactions.
Part of the
two-
process.
yeah.
Duality symbolism is, we have a lot of that.
Love that.
So those two chemicals react on the surface of that metal, and essentially they just accelerate the process of time, as in what would happen with a patina, and all of the natural, beautiful colors, that kind of pearlescent oil,
iridescence.
slick iridescence comes out of the metal. Really, in a very beautiful process. We can't control it as much as we would like.
It's completely organic.
It's completely organic. There's a few variables in the dilution of the chemicals or the water and kind of our energy. It feels like sometimes it's a lot of something very subtle that kind of goes on in that process where we kind of surrender to the work revealing itself to us, which has been a beautiful thing to kind of practice and feel into in our way of learning from the work as well, just allowing it to present itself to us. And at some point we can kind of sense that it's done and ready, and we wash it off so that the chemical reaction stops. And then that will stay stable for a short amount of time, but ultimately we have to seal it. So that gets sealed with something like a 2K or a kind of hardy, waterproof, weatherproof, clear surface that can be polished to still be mirror polished and completely reflective. But that's the Water Dixon process and what we've been known for with the alchemical thing. And so as the water falls off, then we have the piece, and that gets sprayed, and then that's kind of the end of the journey of that piece to then be framed and complete.
Well, yeah, the more like logistical and boring side is then it photographed, and we do have to, all of that needs to be conceptualized into a body of work or into a show. And it's usually something that we're interested in, themes that we're busy with. Time and identity and spirit often are themes in our work. But actually, just to go back to the experience in the workshop, there's also this sign language that we've had to develop, and this
telepathic, knowing, or
Because you can't hear each other talk.
no,
the
exactly.
extractor and the masks and the whole thing.
And so there's this one like intuitive sense of trying to understand when the work is complete and knowing when that is, because if you leave it too long, it will all just disappear. It will be completely gone, or go back to just being a piece of glass, which is quite beautiful in itself as well. And then also this like deep intuition and dynamic between the two of us of being able to communicate either just with sign language or energy. Yeah, exactly. Eye contact.
Yeah, it's actually funny because it's almost like you kind of can't do it by yourself. Like if you were to think, okay, if I was going about this by myself, there's too much happening at once, and there's just something where it feels like if there was ever a way to make a thing like this together, this is it.
What are the dangers involved in the studio when you make these?
So the chemicals do release a smoke, and that is quite toxic to inhale, and definitely would not recommend that. So we wear big gas masks to when we're making the work, and the extractor fan acts to pull it all out of the system. So actually that's a big layer of protection for us. And then our skin, it will also, again, the reaction will create more of an acid, so it will burn you. It's not very severe, and it's just very unpleasant. It will be light surface burns.
And how did two beautiful women like you get to know the tools behind making these things?
It's so strange. It feels like something that was always kind of meant for us, actually. And it came from working directly with our supplier who helps us to produce the mirrors. We spent a day in the factory with him, and we're just messing around with some of the stuff that he has in his workshop. And we just stumbled onto it. And it was such an incredible experience, because we didn't go in with any sort of expectation of what we were going to make. We just wanted to really understand the process and what it looked like, and just be involved in the making of the mirrors. And it's amazing when you go in with that open attitude, what can manifest.
Come your way. And you're talking about manifestation during this process when the two of you can't talk to each other. Is it quite a meditative state that you guys are in? Because there's definitely a sense of spiritual awakening when you look at the end result of the product. And I feel it's part of what you guys are putting in as well.
Yeah, I think we both have realized that we're equally responsible for the energy that we bring into the space. And I think you'll see this with a lot of the dynamic between a lot of duos and collectives, that you need to really own where you are and bring the best version of yourself into the making process. Otherwise, it just will interrupt everything. And if you're too in your head, there was lots of traffic on the way in, you really have to clear yourself of those bad thoughts, and go in with kind of like a clean, open space. So it allows the creativity to come through.
So you are becoming the vessel.
Yeah.
And you have to be so present. All the practices of mindfulness and presence and being in the moment. It's happening in these split seconds of a minute. You can't be distracted or walk away or grab your phone or anything. It really is one of the things day to day that if you're really there, you're completely present in the moment, and you're kind of surrendered. You're kind of in the state of just observation, awareness, unfolding. It's not forceful.
Yeah.
And that's a really beautiful thing to practice through making something beautiful or interesting yeah.
So tell me, you guys are getting a lot of commissions these days. How do you manage the expectations of your buyers? Because it's such an organic process and each and every product is essentially unique.
Yeah, that part is challenging. We do have a little bit of control over different techniques that we've now developed. They all have very professional names, like the creepy creep method, the watery one, super professional names. And we can now sort of guide our collectors into specific styles. So we're able to sort of show them what we've done before, and they can make a selection from what exists.
Those are 25 colors, right?
No, sorry. So this is for Water Dixon. We'll touch on some of that.
Okay.
We'll take you through some of that now for Spectrum.
For the chemical kind of process and the way it lands.
Yeah, so we've got these different techniques for the alchemical process that we can show our collectors, and they can make a selection from that. But it does come with the proviso that each piece is completely unique. There's no version of us being able to replicate anything, and we tend to overproduce on the commission. So if a client just wants 2 pieces, we'll do 4, and that way they can select the ones that they like the most, because there's been occasions where we've just not been able to get the brief at all, and it comes because the environment largely affects the mirror material itself. So the brass on the surface, the chemicals, if it's too hot or too cold, they react very differently. If the water isn't distilled in the same way, or if there's dust, there's a whole bunch of different, if there's humidity, there's so many different environmental factors that can affect the commission. And so we tend to overproduce, and then the client has some options to select from.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the price point of these items, obviously there's a big production behind these items. What are some of those hidden costs that you guys have to deal with as a small business?
Our costs are extremely high. It's a really expensive and tricky thing to make, and requires obviously quite a lot of our time and capacity as well. And then there's a big production process that has to happen for about 6 weeks before we are even able to work on the piece ourselves. So that does go into it.
In that process, even there'll be quality control where we may have got to have a piece of glass or get it to be a mirror and then say, oh no, it's got a big scratch, or there was a bubble or something, and we have to reject it. But in the process, those costs are sometimes incurred and we can't reclaim them. So during the whole journey, there's little things that we often have to absorb, and we've gotten better. And our team has gotten stronger. We've safeguarded a lot of it now, but in the beginning there were so many school fees, so many things that,
I can imagine. And the items you are rejecting, is that something that you can repurpose again, or
Sometimes.
Sometimes we've had to be very creative with our repurposing. Yeah, luckily we can use some of the spectrum pieces. Like if we make a piece for spectrum that gets rejected because the color wasn't correct, or there's pits or scratches in the glass, we are able to use some of that for Water Dixon. But it does depend entirely on how bad it is, or if we're actually able to work with it still. But yeah, sometimes we'll just do a prototype sale to move some of that stock, but ideally we have to reject the entire piece. It has to go back to the manufacturer. They have to look at it and based off of their observation, decide if they will replace it for us or not.
So it really is science where you have to look at the whole process, go back, reassess.
Exactly. It's a full-scale operation. It's quite an intense one. We were talking about this earlier, but anyone in South Africa will be able to relate to this, but there is really no simple way to make things here. And a lot of the logistics and operations involved, there may be 4 or 5 different factories that you work with, or tradespeople, or craftsmen. There's no one really doing the management or production management of that, or centralizing any of that infrastructure for you. You have to employ someone who will take on the role of producer or studio manager, and they'll help you run the production of all of these pieces. And you're often dealing with a different person to do the glass, or 3 different glass suppliers: the tinting person, a framing person, the sealing person, the cutting person, it's the toughening person. It's across the board. There's so many different people that you need to be able to liaise with in the course of making one single artwork. So that is quite an intense and challenging experience, and often there's not a lot of responsibility in the process. We've had to put in a lot of quality control assurances and steps in the process, so that we're able to say, when it goes from this, when the glass arrives from the one supplier and moves on to the tinting supplier, we have someone on our team who checks it at that stage to make sure that when it left the factory, it was actually in good condition before it moves on to the tinting process. And then basically at every stage of production, we have to do that check. Otherwise it could arrive to us and it will have chips and scratches, and we can't, there's no one that we can't go back to them and be like, this is where it happened. So we've had to build in a lot of that ourselves, which is tough and quite expensive also to do.
No, I can imagine. And so now you guys have taken this a little bit further, and Kate, you were in the US before, and now you guys are setting foot there again in the market, in the US market. How are you guys experiencing that, and how did you go about approaching these?
Yeah,
good question.
It's been so exciting, so wonderful to be back there in this way, like a full circle moment for me, for sure. But essentially, out of all of the kind of R&D and the process that we put into developing the mirror material,
So R&D, research and development.
out of all of the research and development for Water Dixon, we developed the mirror material in different color tones and with that different gradient colors. So out of the 15 solid colors that we have as a palette, we've blended them into 25, 26 different gradient combination colors. And so that started to become our library and our kind of way of knowing what was possible within our material. And we would produce certain shapes and sizes, more like a ready-to-hang or kind of preconceived shapes for sale, mostly in South Africa. And the more that we did that, the more interest that we had, and the more kind of curiosity we had from the design community, including architects, interior designers, product designers, on the material and how it worked and what it was capable of. Could we scale? Could it be different shapes? You know, what was really underneath the flexibility of it? And so, kind of looking at America and seeing, like getting a taste of that and liking that was possible. And looking at America, we thought this could be a very different model. We could actually just treat it as a material, treat it as something that we can make by the square meter, by the square foot, at any shape and size, for architects and interior designers to come in from the beginning and basically choose their color and then give us the spec of the design. We can produce it and send it to them as glass, or just as mirror, not framed, not conceptualized into anything, but just a material that's really flexible. And it felt like for the American market, there's so much demand, there's so much creativity, there's so many projects, there's so many applications across retail, hospitality, residential, all kinds of ways that the mirror can really live and exist in the hands of other creatives.
Isn't that beautiful?
It's so beautiful.
Yes.
It's so cool. It's so expansive. There's a lot of capital, there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of experimentation. It just felt like a huge kind of gateway to this much bigger vision, and that we had to kind of let go of controlling every little thing and making it all preconceived and say, okay, cool, what will this look like if we use it as a material? So we officially did that 2 years ago with Fiona McKay from Combi, who had started a design gallery in New York City and up in Hudson, and she was representing other South African artists and designers like Willow Lamp or Zandra Creel, and mainly just object-based. But I think she was really great in bringing that launch together for us at the ICFF, the International Furniture Contemporary
International Contemporary Furniture Fair.
Which is also huge. I mean, it's like these halls at the Javits Center in New York, and it's booths and booths and halls of different trade suppliers, different materials, things from Italy, things from all over America. Actually, it was really cool to see what's available.
Your material.
Yeah.
For everyone to see.
Yeah. So we
And
designed.
what was the response the first time?
It was really it's been amazing, honestly. It's been so extraordinary for us to see how people have been interacting and engaging with the material. We had a list of, a dream list of people that we wanted to be working with. Kelly Wursler, Peter Marino, some of the biggest architects and developers in the country, and we have already engaged with them. Within the first year, we'd sent them samples.
Well done.
They were quoting on projects, and it's so exciting to see how that's unfolded. And again, so quickly, just right time, right place, right market, right people. It just shows you that mix can really go really far, really quickly. So we're really lucky, and we're really happy with New York and the States.
Yeah, no, it's been great. Really cool project, yeah.
And it's also resulted already in these amazing collaborations. We launched a collaboration with Bauer Studios, who we've been following for a really long time. They're like the OG mirror guys in New York, and they've got this beautiful design studio. They make, I think their background was more in joinery and carpentry, and they make really beautiful furniture pieces. And they've been making amazing mirrors for the last 7 or 8 years since we've been it's a very niche design specialty, so we're very aware of the mirror people.
Competitors.
Yeah, well, not even competitors, just
we were like
there's no one.
fans,
Yeah, we're such fangirls.
Love that.
Yeah. So there's no one. There's really not that many people working with mirrors, so we kind of know who everyone is, and actually we idolize them, and they're it's amazing to be working with someone that you are so inspired by as well.
And they also respect your work.
Yeah, and they've already taken the material and they've used it in such a different way that we hadn't experimented with ourselves. So even within the first few months of launching Spectrum in the States, it's been amazing to see that there's just boundaries that have been pushed that we hadn't gotten to yet, so it's really proof of concept was there. And that collaboration's done really well. It was part of their collection. They launched a collection called Woven, really, really beautiful woven aluminium pieces. And then in connection to that collection, we created a piece called Lattice. And we had a single gigantic mirror that we showed at Collectible Fair in September last year. Really, really beautiful design fair. I think it originated in Brussels and had moved to New York, and this was the second iteration of the New York edition. And we, again, with Fiona, with Combi, took a booth with them and Bauer, and we launched Lattice, that single piece. And then it's rolled into a bigger collection that we've developed with Bauer Studios as well. So it's just expanded in this way that's so beautiful into these smaller, really beautiful little pieces.
When you're talking collection, how many pieces are we?
I think there's 4 now.
4, yeah.
4, and each of them are editions of 6, and then in different colorways, 3 different colorways.
And that has been received quite well from the public.
Yeah, and actually has been picked up by Future Perfect, which is an amazing, I guess, they're kind of in the high-end design category of gallery. I think in the States it's a little bit different to South Africa, where design and fine art are very separated. And there it's a little bit more, I suppose, merged.
So tell me, how does this now work in the benefit of South Africa? How are we going to get hold of your products?
We are slowly developing very, very beautiful pieces.
I'm so looking forward to seeing that in some of the Apax design projects, as well as other designers and architects. I really do believe in your product. I think it's a beautiful project. Like I said before, there's something spiritual about it.
Oh, thank you.
I really, really applaud you for what you've done.
So in addition to the ready-to-hang pieces that we've developed that are available to buy off the walls, we are also developing collectible design pieces, which will function in a more similar way to fine artworks, where they are edition works that will be able to be displayed in galleries and retail spaces.
Or can be just collectible pieces.
Yeah, they kind of just function kind of in the same way as fine art. So they come with like an artwork certificate and they're edition pieces, so they have slightly higher price points. But they're not.
Yeah, we would have put the work into the collection and conceptualizing it and building a story and making all of that part, as opposed to it just being the material where the other designers choosing it into the space. So I think for us it's quite nice. It's almost actually a new challenge because we haven't used Spectrum ourselves in that way to
that's true.
create something that brings in a lot of the conceptual thinking and the meaning, and it's in the material and it's in the development of the material and the palette and all of the colors and everything, but not in the form and not in the story of a collection of pieces, which I think, yeah, we maybe weren't quite ready for, or we, you know, it's a higher level of thinking, and you get there after learning and reflecting and seeing what the pieces mean as a story and what they mean in relation to each other and how that comes across, I think. So now that's kind of our challenge and our vision for using our own material in the way that we've invited others to use it, to make pieces that come together as a story and as a meaning, which is a really cool place to be in with our own material.
What sort of narratives do you want to play with, if I may ask?
There's a couple. We're working, it's quite difficult sometimes to not have the Water Dixon stuff overlap with Spectrum. Like we try to keep them slightly separated. But there are obviously a lot of themes that are similar in with the mirrors. It just keeps coming up. But this series will be focused on fractal design, which are recurring, self-recurring, how do you explain this? They are parts of the whole that are recursive. So, you know, I don't know if you've ever seen that spiral shape that exists in nature, like shells. I think the torus is also an example of fractal design, right? And but it's literally a single part will exist in the same whole version of it. And so these are expanded out in geometries, which will be quite interesting to photograph and to play with. Conceptually, we're working on some ideas for shoots for that, which will be really fun. And then we've got another series. We've been in development with our supplier to work on a series of gradients that radiate from the center outwards, which are really new and exciting for us. We just haven't figured out exactly what to do with them yet, but they're super fun and experimental.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Love to see those coming about. So you haven't started with those yet?
The radials we haven't started with, no. We've just got the first batch of tests come through. So they're at the studio at the moment. We're busy working on some ideas.
Wonderful. It's so good to see you guys playing and enjoying the whole process. And I think it's really something that a lot of other designers can really take home and you know, take into their work as well. Because it's all about that energy moving across in what you are producing and what it's giving back to whoever is using that object or material or whether it be a mirror or a furniture piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we always would love to invite people to come to the studio, just say hi, pop us a DM or whatever, come visit and see everything in person, because it's so hard to photograph, they're so hard to explain, and it is this really intimate, really subjective experience for each person to come, be in the space, see themselves reflected. It's got to be in person, and yeah, we're in Cape Town, in Castle House, and we'd love to make everyone always feel welcome to just pop in.
Anything else that you guys want to bring to the...
We have agents kind of globally, and the idea is to expand into different territories and different markets. We've been working with amazing 2 architects who are based in Beirut. They've got a space called the Mirror Project, and they're equally nerdy about mirrors, and they've been pulling together some of the most beautiful designers who all focused on mirror as a material into their space, and they sort of act as an agent for us as well in the Levant region. So that's been very interesting. It's really interesting, I think, working globally and trying to navigate the politics and the different war and fuel charges, and just even if it was very simple tariff situation, it's quite a challenge to operate from Cape Town, which is extremely far away from everything in
safe bubble,
kind of the Western world, you know. So that's been a huge lesson for us. It's been a very, very interesting journey, learning how to now manage trade and logistics across this gigantic gulf of water.
No, so I guess also to speak to the way that the mirror is received in America, toward the end of last year, we had probably actually the biggest volume order that we've ever done as a studio. And it was 85 unique shapes, colors, and sizes, scale of sets of 3 mirror works out of Spectrum. To go onto the lobby outside the elevator on each floor of a building. So it's part of a huge development in San Marcos in San Diego. And we had not had to complete that volume for one order at one time from start to finish before, as well as including creating the design for the wall map to kind of show the installers how to install them to the right shape and size, the right height and everything, as well as creating to put them onto a container. So that was a huge shipment that went from the port of Cape Town through to the LA kind of shipyard.
But like via China, and then
yes,
it was such a strange route.
Yeah, so that was our first taste of like all of the scale at that kind of with the time frame, with the pressure of it for a huge property developer, for like quite a high stakes project, and with every little avenue of pressure.
How much time did you have all in all to do that?
I think it ended up only being 3 months. It was meant to be a 4-month project, and I think that could have been quite comfortable. But it ended up being 3 months because of how long it took for us to get some drawings or something from the client. And then on top of that, with South Africa closing for the December break for the workers' holidays, we were just in this like massive crunch to try get everything done before. And then at that same time, all the tariffs, the trade, what happened exactly? It was trade in America.
So Trump put the tariffs into action, and it was so tumultuous because it started out at 10% and then went up to 30%. And then are these artworks or are these mirrors? But they're each unique. But do we edition them? But you know, there's so much paperwork, and everybody was just floundering because he kept changing everything, you know, weekly. And we're obviously trying to do it properly, but not have this huge cost come onto the client at the end of the day once they've already placed their order, because you're also putting them into a really unfortunate position to say, okay, well now there's a 30% charge on a really big, really expensive order that you weren't expecting. Plus the shipping is more expensive because the fuel is more expensive. There's less routes traveling now to America.
That's what it was.
So all of the routes are more expensive. And so they're looking at what their order cost when they placed it, and now it's gone up by however much. And yeah, and that kind of, I don't know, we just had to learn really day to day. We work with an amazing team on the shipping side, and then Fiona and our team and everybody just really showed up to be really nimble and just really try to understand the best way through, considering it was just a changing, kind of moving target the whole time, and there's a deadline on the other end. You know, they want to install them and there's people moving in.
Well, I definitely think the takeaway here is, in a world of chaos, stay calm.
Yeah.
You know,
definitely.
it will get there eventually.
Yeah,
And it was
exactly.
quite, I think, cool as a company and as a team to have that pressure and that expansion for that job, because you know you can't do it otherwise. You can't just do it hypothetically or in case of. You kind of like build the plane while flying, we say, and you have to just allow everybody to stretch in those moments, and then afterwards you're like, okay, cool, now we can handle more, you know, and we wouldn't have got there if we didn't have the opportunity and the kind of pressure to stretch in that way. So now we feel really confident for the bigger volume projects, for like clarity of deadline, for kind of awareness of all the shipping stuff. I think every time we build more confidence and more professionalism, and our clients can feel more confident. And
Well, it's all evident, and I can really tell that you guys are really passionate about what you guys are doing. And I really want to commend you for what you've done to date, and I really look forward to seeing your work crossing more borders and changing people's lives going forward. So thank you so much for joining Apax Empowered, and I hope to see you guys soon at one of these fabulous events.